In this video, we're going to talk about constructors. And a constructor is a method, and we've talked about them before. A constructor is a method that runs when somebody calls new and specifies this method. In this example, it's dog, right? Dog is the name of the method we're going to run to create a new dog. We've talked about before some that we can tell what a constructor method looks like. We can identify them because they don't have a return type and that their name always matches the name of the class. So we're going to create our first method here for our dog, and it's going to be a constructor method. Okay, so constructor is still one of our behaviors, and it's usually the first behavior we list in our class. So let's do a constructor for our dog. Constructors normally need to be public because this class over here is a different class than our dog class, and it needs to be able to run this method. In order for it to run that method, it needs to be public because it's a different class. I'm going to create a public. There's no return type, and we know constructors need to match the name of the class. And I'll give a body. Actually, I'm going to use this notation today. So my open curly brace and my close curly brace. What should our constructor do? Well, our constructor should set our variables for our dog. Should set these properties. Right now, when we create a dog, our dog has an age, and we saw in the last video that our age will automatically set to 0. What happens to name? What if we create a dog and we don't give it a name? That's an interesting question. Let's make this public real quick. Because we saw it with age, let's try it with name. Over here we create our new dog. Let's try and print out its name. See what kind of error we get. I'm not sure I saved this. There, I saved it. Oh, Fido.name, I'm sorry. We'll do it, and we get null. We could get a null reference exception too, depending on how we're using this. So our name is not set to anything. We don't want people to create a dog that doesn't have an age and doesn't have a name. So how do we do that with our constructor? Well, we have to allow our constructor to have some parameters. I want people, when they create a dog, to have to pass in a string with the dog's name, and they need to pass in an int with the dog's age. So I've just declared two local variables here. One for name and one for age. They are different from these two variables here, because these two variables are properties, and they exist. Their scope is the entire dog class. These were declared inside this method, so their scope will only be for the method. So they're temporary. As soon as we hit this last curly brace of the method, this name and this age will cease to exist. They only exist within its scope of that dog constructor running. So what do we need to do? We need to set this temporary name. We need to use it to set the dog's property name. Now, how do we distinguish between them? Because I can't say this. Well, technically I can. Okay. But this method in the compiler assumes that I'm talking about the same name both times. So if I want to access the property, and we've talked about this before, we need to use the keyword this. Okay. So this name, this dot name refers to the property. Now you can see they're both highlighted. When I select one of them, they're both highlighted. And when I select this name, these two are highlighted. Okay, so I'm taking this temporary value name and assigning it to the object's name, which is held in this property. So this is a very common way. We see this in a lot of constructors. We pass in a couple variables to set the properties, and then we assign the local variable to the property inside the method. So I need to do the same thing for age. So I'm going to say this dot age is equal to age. All right. It takes the local variable age and assigns it to the property variable age. Now, let's go back and look at our demo. And now I can't create a new dog, because when I create my dog, it expects me to provide it a string and an int. So I need to provide it a string for my dog's name. In this case, I'm going to use Fido. And Fido is 3 years old, right? So there's my two values that I'm passing into my dog when I create it. Passing in its name as a string and its age. So we can do this, but we still have the problem that we can't print things out. So let's go ahead and run it to see that we don't have any problems here. We don't have any problems, but I still can't access the name because the name is private. All right, so if we don't want these things to be public, how do we access them? We'll talk about that in the next video.